Throughout most of human history, people could only dream of having ready access to all of the world's knowledge. Books were highly prized rarities, literacy was uncommon, and news could take weeks or months to travel by courier. The idea that the sum of human knowledge could be accessed by a little box in everyone's pocket sounded like a utopian fantasy. Surely this science fiction future would be a paradise where citizens lived lives of high agency armed with all the greatest insights from history. Well, in reality, upon receiving access to the total breadth of the human experience, most people immediately started looking for someone else to tell them what to think. Humans are highly social creatures, political animals as Aristotle famously claimed, and they seek belonging more readily than they do truth. We need a narrative about our social order and where we find ourselves inside of it. We need to achieve status, secure a mate, and see to the provision and protection of ourselves and our loved ones. Our social faculties aren't really designed to maintain relationships with anything beyond a small village of about 150 people, or Dunbar's number as it's often called. Even though we built infrastructure capable of letting us connect with thousands upon thousands of people, our personal capacity to process that input is lacking. This is why individuals often don't treat those who they interact with on the internet as human. We are literally incapable of extending that conception beyond a certain number of interlocutors. The same is true of information. While it's nice to have access to the totality of knowledge in theory, in practice this is like drinking from a fire hose. Raw facts aren't enough. Every bit of knowledge requires a certain level of familiarity to place it in the proper context, which then makes it useful. The vast amount of information means that it's impossible for any one actor to truly understand it. This is why you see a move toward information specialization. Just like an assembly line, once you're manufacturing at scale, it no longer makes sense for one worker to handle the entire process start to finish. By specializing in one task instead of trying to master the entire assembly, each worker becomes far more efficient, and the product is churned out faster. This means that while one individual could have the vast knowledge necessary to think for themselves in any given situation, most people will specialize in one or two things and then allow the experts to inform their opinion on everything else coming out of the fire hose. Expertise becomes a critical currency because the system is too complex for any one person to understand or to operate. Every expert becomes a possible choke point for the precious flow of information, and therefore a possible failure point for the system. He who controls the narrative and the flow of information related to a specific topic can shape public perception of that issue. From the very inception of mass media, political actors recognized its ability to shape the public consciousness. In his book, Public Opinion, published in 1922, Walter Lippmann explained why media figures should use their influence to ensure that the public makes the correct decision in a liberal democracy. Lippmann made this assertion without hesitation or shame because he believed that a public left to parse the vast sum of available information on their own would be incapable of making the right decision. His theories were widely adopted, and large governments, including the United States, developed a system of propaganda to control how the populace received information. While information was now more readily available due to mass media, the ability to wield that tool was still largely held by the ultra-rich and powerful. Mass printing operations, radio stations, television stations, and movie studios were incredibly expensive endeavors. Communication had been massified to reach millions of people, but the cost and logistics involved were so great that its ownership was still consolidated into very few hands. It became very easy for this small group of media moguls to create a community of experts which held a firm grip on political news and opinion. The gatekeepers owned the means of communication, so they owned what the public got to consider or ultimately believe. This institutional control is what modern political actors relied on to wield power and shape public sentiment. Experts who operated think tanks and universities created policy papers. Political agendas were laundered through commentators and reporters. Everyone wanted to feel intelligent and informed about politics, so they listened to the well-crafted narratives presented to them by skilled experts. Very few individuals had the option of actually diving into the stream for themselves and finding their own way. The monopoly on expert opinion was something that elites, both left and right, used to maintain their status and power. The internet shattered this paradigm and plunged our system into chaos. With the widespread ability to make original reporting and independent analysis available in written, audio, and video form, everyone can have their opinion heard. Now, anyone with a microphone and a camera can broadcast their thoughts to the world. It used to be that news anchors and political commentators were very professional people, sitting in expensive studios projecting the gravitas of their position. Now, with networks trying to cut costs, official media experts are often sitting in their home office speaking to an audience through some video streaming software just like the amateurs. The line between credentialed gatekeeper and average guy with an opinion has all but disappeared. And this is why we're seeing an utter panic breaking out among conservative and liberal elites. Progressives who were used to holding the reins of the news machine were dismayed to discover that new media allowed figures like Donald Trump and J.D. Vance to circumvent the usual gatekeepers and bring their message to the people. Podcasts hosted by comedians or random celebrities who had no loyalty to the expert class were breaking through the usual censorship and deplatforming. Conservative elites clapped with glee as liberals complained about the dangerous misinformation coming out of these podcasts. That is until they also started to lose control of the conservative narrative space. As large conservative broadcasters moved away from their aging and restrictive networks to found their own platforms, the cast of experts began to fall away, and so did the narrative control. What we are seeing on both sides is the panicked scramble to reimpose gatekeepers in the public square. While our previous class of experts may have become entirely corrupt, they did serve a real purpose. The public is largely bad at evaluating the relevance or veracity of information with which they are unfamiliar, and so uncontrolled influencers can wreak a surprising amount of havoc. The problem is that the expert class has so thoroughly discredited itself and technology has made mass communication so ubiquitous that it seems unlikely that the gatekeepers will reestablish control. The information space is likely to remain a churning mass, revolutionizing itself over and over again unless some exercise in hard power, like the internet censorship laws often used by European governments, is deployed. And to be very clear, I am in no way advocating for that. I abhor it, but I'm simply pointing out that this is the reality once the credibility of your expert institutions has dissolved. If you think the informational civil war raging on both the right and the left is intense, just wait. It's only going to get more wild from here. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a great time to do so. If you'd like to get these broadcasts as podcasts, you need to subscribe to the Auron MacIntyre Show on your favorite podcast platform, and when you do, leave a rating or review. It really helps with the algorithm magic. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter or Substack or Instagram, if you'd like to watch these videos on Rumble or Odyssey, the links to do all of that are down below in the description. And of course, if you'd like to watch any of my videos or read any of my columns, they're over at The Blaze. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll talk to you next time.